Sir, do you understand all the pending charges and the maximum possible penalties involved? And it's my understanding that you want to resolve both cases today. Is that correct?
New footage just dropped showing the moment that changed everything. 6 years of brotherhood ended in seconds as YNW Bortlen sat just inches away from Melly, agreeing to a deal that could put his own friend on death row. What Bortlen promised prosecutors might be the final nail in Melly's coffin. On September 9th, 2025, courtroom footage went viral everywhere: Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, you name it. It showed YNW, Melly and his day one brother, Bortlen, both sitting in Red County jumpsuits, looking like they had the weight of the world on their shoulders. But this wasn't just some normal court appearance. Nah, this was the moment that had the whole hood questioning what loyalty really means. Bortlen, who was facing 5 life sentences plus 75 extra years, made a choice in that Broward County courtroom that shook the entire hip-hop community. People started talking about snitching survival and what it really means to keep it 100. And trust me, this story runs way deeper than a viral clip. We're talking about a double murder case that's been dragging on for more than 7 years, tied to the deaths of YNW Juvie and YNW Sack Chaser, with allegations serious enough to make even the hardest street dudes second-guess themselves.
As to all the charges that you're facing, the maximum possible penalties are as follows. It's life in Florida State Prison, followed by 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 75 years in Florida State Prison. Do you understand the charges and the maximum possible penalties involved? And in exchange for all of that, the state is offering that I would adjudicate you guilty and sentence you to the bottom of your sentencing guidelines. But if you don't accept it, and one of these trials doesn't go your way, and you end up with life in Florida State Prison, which is a mandatory.
This whole situation goes back to October 26, 2018, when Christopher YNW Juvie Thomas Jr. and Anthony YNW Sack Chaser Williams were shot and killed inside an SUV in Miramar, Florida. At first, it looked like some ops pulled up and hit them in a drive-by. Once forensics came back, that story started to fall apart fast. The bullet paths showed the shots came from inside the car, not from outside shooters. That's when prosecutors painted a cold picture, saying money and fame had turned brothers into enemies. They claimed Melly, fueled by beef over money and clout, and the YNW crew executed his own homies in the back seat. Meanwhile, Bortlen was allegedly the driver, helping stage the scene to look like a random drive-by. But here's the thing, these weren't just random dudes from the block. These were 4 young kings building something together under the YNW banner. Young World was supposed to stand for unity, brotherhood, and coming up from the struggle together. But according to the state's story, success poisoned all of that. Love turned into hate. Family turned into enemies.
Wait, did he say leaving a party? That's a lie if Bortlen said that. They were leaving the studio.
The evidence that came out in this case was heavy. Forensics showed the bullet patterns didn't match a drive-by at all. The shots clearly came from inside the car, which blew apart the story the survivors first told. On top of that, GPS data and cell phone records put them in places that didn't line up with their timeline. But the most chilling piece? Those alleged Instagram DMs where Melly supposedly admitted to the murders, typing, "Shh, I did that way," when talking about his dead friends. Those digital footprints became the prosecution's smoking gun, and the viral footage everyone's been sharing, it's deeper than just court paperwork or legal drama. It shows the exact moment one co-defendant decided he wasn't about to spend life in prison for anybody, not even his day one.
I would have to impose mandatory court costs in each case, and I would have to impose a mandatory cost of prosecution in each case, which is $100. So
$100. Comment down below right now. Do you think he's gonna switch on Melly? They didn't say anything about testifying, but the state has to do that, right? There's no way they go from 5 life sentences to 16 years and not want him to testify.
The footage first posted by It Sees DGTL on Twitter shows Bortlen in a red jumpsuit, hands folded, nodding as his plea deal gets read out loud. Right next to him, Melly sits stone-faced like he already knew his brother just threw him under the bus. The visual hits. Different 2 young kings who once shared the stage and the studio, now separated by more than just a courtroom. You can feel the tension and betrayal in every frame. That's why the clip went so crazy online. Within hours, the footage spread everywhere: TikTok, YouTube, hip-hop blogs. The original post alone hit over 200K views, while legal experts, street commentators, and fans all weighed in on what this meant for both their futures. But to really understand why this footage shook the streets, we have to break down exactly what Bortlen agreed to and why his decision has everybody questioning what loyalty really means in 2025, because the plea deal YNW Bortlen took on September 9th wasn't just some regular court business. The streets are calling it the ultimate finesse, and maybe the very move that sealed Melly's fate.
as to all the charges that you're facing, the maximum possible penalties are as follows. It's life in Florida State Prison, followed by 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 75 years in Florida State Prison.
To really understand how cold this deal was, you first got to see what Bortlen was facing before he walked into that courtroom. He was looking at 5 life sentences plus 75 years in Florida. State prison. Let that sink in, basically forever times 5. No chance of ever touching the outside world again. The charges weren't light either. Bortlen was hit with 2 first-degree murder charges with a firearm, which in Florida means automatic life if you're convicted. On top of that, he had accessory, after the fact witness tampering in a capital case, running a criminal organization conspiracy, charges, and even illegal use of communication devices. Each one of those could have added decades on its own.
Gang, there's too many people snitching, bro. I would have took the plea right there, bro. Bruh, Your Honor, you don't gotta finish, bro. Just let me out of here, bro.
Here's where things get crazy. The state first offered Bortlen 16 years, but that got knocked down to just 10 since he's already been locked up for about 6 years after his 2019 arrest. That means he could be back on the streets in just 4 more years then. Do 6 years on probation. The math on this deal is wild. He went from facing multiple life sentences, basically guaranteed to die imprisoned, possibly walking free while he's still young enough to live a full life for someone who was never supposed to see. Freedom again. This wasn't just a good deal. It was a straight-up miracle.
Oh, hell nah. Yo, you know what I would have said? You know what I said? Your Honor, pass me that goddamn bologna sandwich and take my phone number, cause sorry, nigga, I'm finna go home. Come on, bruh. Come on, bruh. Just pass me the bologna sandwich, man. Pass me the bologna sandwich and let's get this shit going on, man.
But you already know when a deal sounds too good to be true, there's always a catch. The biggest condition of Bortlen's plea is something called a proffer, basically a sit-down after sentencing, where he has to tell prosecutors everything he knows. And this is where things get really dangerous for Melly. That proffer means Bortlen will have to break down the full story, what happened to Juvie and Sack Chaser, how the cover-up was planned, and possibly details that point straight at Melly. All of it could end up being used against him in the upcoming retrial.
By the way, he should beat those charges, Chad. Like, he didn't murder the guys. It's really alleged that Melly did it. However, they charge him with murder in case he was in on it, but there's no proof he was in on it.
Now here's where Bortlen's lawyer started playing word games and where the whole snitching debate gets complicated. Attorney Fred Haddad came out saying that while Bortlen agreed to the proffer, he will not be cooperating in Melly's trial, trying to make it sound like there's no testimony requirement. But anybody who's been around the block knows that's some lawyer speak trying to make it sound better than it really is. Real talk though, even if Bortlen doesn't take the stand and point the finger directly at Melly in open court, the information he gives in that proffer session could still be used to destroy Melly's defense. The prosecutors could use what he tells them to. Connect dots, corroborate other evidence, or find new witnesses and proof they didn't have before. The timing of this deal is suspect as hell too. Bortlen took this plea literally hours before his trial was supposed to start, which tells you his legal team was probably negotiating right up until the last minute to get the best terms possible. That last minute timing also caught everybody off guard, including the judge, who seemed surprised at how lenient the deal was.
It does seem reasonable, but I do think the judge is pushing for him to take it. You know, most, charges and cases are really resolved by plea deals. And I'm gonna be honest, I don't think they have that much on him.
But the realest part about this whole situation is what it says about the relationship between Bortlen and Melly. These two cats used to be tight. They came up together, made music together, shared the same dreams and struggles. The YNW crew wasn't just some business partnership, it was supposed to be a brotherhood, a family that had each other's backs no matter what. The state's been saying from day one that the whole motive for these murders was internal beef within this so-called family. They claimed that success and money created jealousy and tension that led to violence. If that's true, then Bortlen's decision to take a deal that could sink his former brother represents the final nail in the coffin of whatever bond the YNW crew once had.
The reason that I'm doing this is because I want the record to be clear what the state's offer was, and the record to be clear that you understood it and that you had enough time to talk to your lawyers about it.
The viral footage captures all this tension perfectly. You can't hear what these two are thinking, but their body language says it all. Bortlen looks locked in, focused, maybe even relieved that he found a way out of dying in prison. Melly, on the other hand, keeps the same poker face he's worn through this whole case, but you gotta wonder what's going through his head watching his day one trade his freedom for Melly's possible life sentence. This moment has the hip-hop world divided. Some say Bortlen made the smart choice choosing life instead of dying in a cage for loyalty. Others see it as the ultimate betrayal, breaking the code that's supposed to guide how real ones move in the streets. The debate only got louder when people started comparing this to other rappers who cooperated with the feds. One thing about the streets, they don't forget and they definitely don't forgive when somebody breaks the code. And now the aftermath of this. Footage in Bortlen's plea deal has been crazy. For Melly, the future looks darker than ever. What we're witnessing isn't just one man. Getting out of his legal mess, it might be the beginning of the end for one of the most watched murder cases in hip-hop history.
Based on body language, I can't tell. I would guess he's gonna stay solid and not snitch, but who knows, bro. This is a lifeline for him. 16 years, bro? He'd be a free man at like 40 years old or something. He could still live a life.
The streets and social media went wild after this. Footage dropped. Hip-hop fans and street voices immediately started calling it straight-up snitching, comparing it to other big cases where rappers cracked under. Pressure Bortlen's plea deal has sparked heated debates about loyalty in hip-hop, with many people shocked and disappointed, calling it a violation of street codes and brotherhood. The comparisons to Gunna's situation in the Young Thug case are everywhere. Some folks even nicknamed it a gun plea, saying it's the same kind of move that had people questioning Gunna's credibility in the streets. And history shows the reaction to these deals is always harsh. Once the streets label you a rat, it usually comes with a career-ending stigma that sticks for life.
Because at that point he was a victim. They didn't really think he was involved in killing the two people yet. Bortlen's lawyer, Haddad, I believe is how you pronounce his name. I've never heard him do cross, so this is the first time hearing.
Proceeded to the Miramar Hospital because of dispatch.
Yes, sir.
Dispatch all units. How many police charges?
I don't recall. Good amount. I wouldn't say everybody because there's a whole city to patrol. Good approximate.
Yeah.
When I arrived on scene, it was just about 3 or 4 units on scene.
3 or 4. By the time you left, how many?
Probably 10 to 12.
But beyond all the social media drama and street politics, the real question is what this means for Melly's legal fight. His retrial, originally set for September 10th, 2025, has now been pushed back to January 2027 because of ongoing appeals and evidence disputes. That means Melly will spend more than 8 years locked up before even getting a new trial. Crazy when you think about it. He hasn't even been convicted yet. And here's where Bortlen's proffer could change everything. If he tells prosecutors that Melly was the shooter and explains how the cover-up was staged, the state's case could get way stronger. Remember, Melly's first trial in 2023 ended in a mistrial with a hung jury. 9 jurors leaned toward acquittal on 1 count, but they couldn't agree overall, leaving the case wide open.
That's a big question I kept asking the Melly trial. If it wasn't Melly that shot them, then who was it? Where did this drive-by shooting happen? Because apparently there's no evidence of one.
Even in his statement, he says, I'm not from here, I'm not familiar with there. So we gave him the benefit of the doubt, like, okay, people get lost all the time. They might think they're on Miramar Parkway, but actually on Pembroke Road or Pines Boulevard. It's understandable. So he said, you know what, just ride with Detective Toyota and show him where it happened. I don't know his exact words, but he didn't object. He wasn't in handcuffs. And it was an unmarked police unit, not a cage in the back of that car. So
damn, he could have said no and not win.
The prosecution's case against Melly has always had some weak spots. Yes, they've got forensic evidence showing the shots came from inside the car and those alleged Instagram DMs where Melly supposedly confessed. But one thing they've struggled to prove is, why would Melly want to kill 2 of his closest friends and business partners? The defense has pushed back, saying there's no proof of any real beef, and that the state's theory about crew drama is just speculation. That's where Bortlen's proffer could become a game changer. If he gives prosecutors details about conversations, motives, or planning that haven't been revealed before, it could fill in the missing pieces and make the case against Melly much stronger. On the flip side, if Bortlen's story doesn't match the prosecution's version, or worse, if it actually supports Melly's innocence, it could swing things in Melly's favor. But here's the catch. Legal experts warn that proffers done after sentencing don't carry the same weight as cooperation deals made before sentencing. Since Bortlen already secured his deal, prosecutors can't really pressure him into giving damaging details. He could keep things vague, say he doesn't remember or avoid, going too deep without facing more punishment. Plus, there are big legal questions about whether his statements can even be used in court. Melly's defense team will almost definitely fight it, arguing the proffer was coerced or that Bortlen's deal gives him immunity that protects Melly from being hit with that info. The bigger picture here goes beyond Melly and Bortlen. This whole YNW case has become an example of larger problems in both hip-hop and the justice system, the endless trial. Delays how prosecutors handle these high-profile cases and how social media shapes public opinion. But for Melly personally, things are looking more dangerous than ever. He's already been locked up for over 6 years, and he's still facing 2 first-degree murder charges. Melly still faces charges in his retrial, with prosecutors pushing hard for the death penalty. And under Florida's 2023 law, they only need 8 out of 12 jurors to recommend death, instead of the unanimous vote that used to be required. At the same time, Melly's complaints about jail conditions continue making headlines. His November 2024 lawsuit against Broward County Jail claimed cruel and unusual punishment, including 23-hour isolation and denial of basic SAU privileges. The case has faced setbacks but is still ongoing. On top of that, leaked reports and videos suggest Melly has been involved in multiple altercations behind bars, including footage that allegedly showed him being jumped by other inmates. People on the outside say his high-profile case and isolation have made him a target. When you're locked up this long on charges this serious every day becomes about survival. The viral spread of this footage also raises bigger questions about privacy, about how justice has turned into entertainment, and about how social media shapes the way we see celebrity cases. Looking ahead, there's still no clear end in sight. With Melly's retrial not scheduled until January 2027, that's another year and a half of uncertainty, legal battles, and public speculation. Bortlen, meanwhile, will probably keep his head down, serving the rest of his time quietly until release. The victims' families, who have mostly stayed out of the spotlight, are still seeking justice for YNW Juvie and YNW Sack Chaser. They've seen the plea deal as partial accountability and are now pursuing civil lawsuits hoping for not just criminal justice, but also financial compensation for their loss. This case is a harsh reminder of the real human cost behind the headlines and viral clip. 2 young men are dead, 2 others have seen their lives and careers destroyed, and families on both sides have been torn apart by violence and its aftermath. That viral footage everyone was talking about is just one moment in a tragedy that's been playing out for more than 7 years and could continue for years to come, as we wait to see how Melly's retrial unfolds and whether Bortlen's cooperation will tip the scales. One thing is certain, that September 9th, 2025 footage will go down as a turning point. For some, it might be remembered as the beginning of justice being served. For others, it will be the moment street loyalty gave way to the harsh reality of survival behind bars. In the streets, your word is your bond. And once that bond is broken, there's usually no coming back. Whether Bortlen made the right choice or sold his soul for freedom is something the culture will be debating for years. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, click one of the boxes on screen to watch more stories like this.